Everyone loves the nostalgic look of film photos and take camcorders. We instantly just take it on our pictures on our phones and just put tons of filters on them, and looks like they were looks like they were taken by a film camera or a tape-based camcorder. So I thought, why not take an actual film camera, which they still act in production, and also a mini DV camcorder that is like 20 years old at this point. So might as well see how it looks like in 2025. So let's go to Disneyland to see how it looks there. Welcome to Ansel Travel. For the baseline, I'll be shooting on all my photos and videos on my usual iPhone 14 Pro Max with 48 megapixel camera as the main sensor. With most smartphones have along with advanced image processing for the image to have better, clearer image bouncing. Because look at that, that's pretty good. Well, I think this has a filter on it, but whatever. But most of these shots I'm going to be in 9:6 aspect ratio, so you can easily do side-by-side comparison with camcorders 4:3 aspect ratio along the photos there as well. With phone recording, we'll be in full HD of 1920 by 1080, which is about over 2 million pixels, a high definition resolution at 60 frames per second for smoother footage. This will be compared to my family's 2005-ish Panasonic PV GS39 mini DV cassette camcorder. This is from roughly 2005 with a playback with a resolution of 480 by 640, which is about roughly 360,000 pixels, frames playing at 24 frames per second. In general, more pixels equals a clearer digital detail and footage, with more frames and smoother capture video, especially for moving objects at high speed rates like roller coasters. However, the camcorder was suddenly used as difficulty trying to export the footage to files to post online or even post it on the camcorder. So it was a bit interesting on there, but thankfully now there's actual software nowadays. But there's been more like which is like the Roxio VHS to DVD software, which use a capture software that goes from like RCA to USB output capture device and capture to a digital file. And then for the film camera was Kodak Power Shot disposable film camera, and that actually found at Staples for only $17. Not bad, especially considering film is about more or less $10 depending on the film stock type, and then it's like $7 for like the body camera. So that's pretty good, and especially if you want to try to see if you want to do more filming, do like more film photography, which I think probably is pretty good, but then also gonna get expensive over time, because especially I took it to a film developer for their, and then got all the 27 exposures of the film stock was developed, and then I got also printed as well. So it's like $16 to develop and then $8 for all the photos. So it's can be a bit expensive hobby. So I'm thinking, if anything, more just stick with my digital camera, if anything, unless I can get very good deals on some of the film stock, and well, if I can just get better deals on things there. But also, you can just get them cheap on eBay, or even better yet, now the new bidding system for Goodwill. So let's head out to Disneyland. So for there, it was in May for there, so the weather wasn't too bad, thankfully, so it was go there just to check out. However, it was very, very bright, so there might be some overexposures in some cases on there of the sun. Like, there is some, especially since the guy was just great and clear, there was like this overexposure, like lens flare artifacting in this Soarin picture, so there's that one. Sides are just very blue in this one. Yeah, it's kind of a bit washed out because depending on the type of film stock that you choose for there, it kind of gives of how the film will look and how it will be developed. So, but for there, the first photo is on Main Street, of course. So for there, it was a bit blurry because there's no real of actually focusing. There's no like automated focusing system to actually shoot it and how it can focus or balancing or anything like that, so you just have to hope and see if it will turn out well. But alright, well, third is Big Thunder Mountain. This one is very overblown. Look at the sky, it's just very white, and unfortunately it did not bode very well when it came to some of the brighter scenes. But there, when it comes to like using everything on your iPhone, just everything just looks much more balanced, much more nicer, and looks so better. especially like for film, it's challenging with film. It's kind of hard to really get things focused correctly, make sure you get the right color balancing and everything, but what are you gonna do? So for the next was Autopia. So for everyone was like in the queue for Autopia, right, go before loading bays for all the Autopia cars. It was very, this shot was very blurry for some reason. It was because I didn't know where exactly the camera was actually focusing on, unfortunately, so it kind of was a bit all over the place with that shot, so it was kind of a bit blurry for the most part. But for that, I did go on Autopia with my first film recording of the day, which both were filmed while driving on Autopia. So I also pretty much did like this or like this when I did film on there on Autopia, and then I just drove and just go and just drove. So it was trying to keep it stable was kind of hard, especially trying to have it one hand on the wheel, and especially don't do this in a real car. That is very dangerous. But for there, it does get the stabilization on image stabilization is amazing on it on the iPhone, of course. But of course, if you're going to on this one, there's like no image stabilization, and that's going to be a well coming in play in most of these upcoming shots there as well. But for overall, it's good what it is. Next is on the Matterhorn. Yes, the Matterhorn is everything a blurry mess. Yes. And did it kind of mess up with the film tape on there? Yeah, it kind of corrupted like a couple parts of the shots on there. But otherwise, it wasn't too bad. It actually captured the colors very well. It adjusted the colors very well. But of course, everything was shaky, blurry. Well, yeah. Well, I don't know what to expect really. But there was like, especially one time, there was the footage kind of skipped during recording. Which is like at the minute 45 mark on that footage on there. So it kind of like just audio and just skip because the tape kind of got moved all over the place, kind of got missed in line in there, unfortunately. But otherwise, it looks fine for what it is there. But unfortunately, I didn't take my iPhone on it before because I don't have any tether or lanyard to hold the secured on there. I held it all together myself like this to dear life on Tiana's Bayou adventure, but I was really scared to do really. For anything like this to hold my phone to dear life like this on Matterhorn, I know I was going to lose it on there, so I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. If anything, maybe do like any full death grip like this, maybe, but I am not going to do that. I don't want to risk it. But for a bit more fair comparison, let's do Casey Jr. as the caboose. It could be a good way to just hold both devices side by side. But first, those was a really amazing shot that I got of the Matterhorn. After that was in the queue for in the Fantasyland. Some of these shots look really amazing and look like they're like taken like any time like back in 19 something or 2000 something, because really a lot of these shots look really cool, and especially with like the film stock look on there, it looks pretty nice on there. Especially for this shot, if you just especially you don't look too close at people's clothing on there, then yeah, it looks pretty timeless. So can't tell like when exactly it was taken if you don't look at too particularly at people, because the carousel's been there forever, the mountain's been there forever, and I'm sure that a lot of these vendors been there forever and whatnot. So it looks pretty timeless there for sure. So now on Casey Jr. So from there, I was able to get into the caboose of the Casey Jr. train. So then holding the camcorder like this, and then my iPhone side by side like so. I can fit it like this, so it was filmed like this properly. So for there, it was pretty much an actual fair side by side comparison. And surprisingly, it wasn't too bad with the Panasonic for the tape camcorder. It was not too bad for what it is there. So, but for the iPhone, perfect. In general, it was, of course, still pretty good, but especially when I showed some of my coworkers some of the footage on there, and said, wow, that kind of looks like kind of like reminiscent, kind of like it was like the Disney sing-along videos, DVDs, and wait, no, well, VHSs, more like, because of kind of like the grainy quality, but also at Disneyland kind of reminds them like that. So I was like, oh, yeah, that kind of does, but unfortunately I don't have any things to compare it with on there, but it does. But I'll take its word for it there. But yeah, but remember, it does look kind of like some of the Disney sing-along song videos there. Next was Rivers of America. It looks pretty good and pretty timeless. If you just looking on there, because there's nothing specific in there besides the Columbia on there. Yeah, it looks like pretty timeless. You don't know exactly what it took a look at. You know, like in 1960s, or it could be 2025. And that's one of the things I kind of like about it. It's like, got to get those shots that look like that could be taken like any time, really. And then also on Tiana's Bayou Adventure / what formerly was Splash Mountain, it was, well, lens flare. Don't ever take pictures of Tiana's Bayou Adventure during the afternoon sun, because it'll just be 1, in shade, 2, you'll get all the sun. It was kind of a bad shot, but what are you gonna do? But if anything, do it more during the morning hours there, so you won't get the sun directly. You won't get any shade from there. Okay, then at Galaxy's Edge. So pretty much for there, this shot was like, you can definitely tell. Well, it's like, this looks pretty much what it looked kind of, the style kind of looked like if it was back in the day with the film. But it looks. I wish it wasn't blurry. I guess it was like sort of moving in that shot on there, but also there was like half of it's light, part of it is dark, and so I guess it didn't bode well, but it kind of end up being a bit blurry there, so I don't know what to expect there. And especially since there wasn't any like focus ring on there, is like there was like no real adjustments on there, just shoot and pray that it looks okay. And then at Tomorrowland Monorail Station, it was full afternoon sun. Yeah, that was just total brightness in your face there, so you can't really do much about that from the monorail station, really. But oh well. But from there, took the monorail downtown Disney, took some shots around, but I didn't do any shots there. I should have done some pictures there, especially. It looks much different now from what it looks like, especially different color schemes. A lot new places, a lot of places are gone, new places are put in their place, and it's like, oh well, what are you gonna do? So now to California Adventure. What kind of places were there that seemed kind of timeless on there? Well, got the California, for there went to California Adventure, and it took the Soarin' Around the World signage. I wish when I took this picture was still soaring over California, it would have looked a lot more convincing. It was back in like 2005, because Soarin' Around the World replaced it, and they didn't temporarily do it during the Food and Wine festivals. So yeah, so unfortunately, well, I wish it was, but it looks so pretty good, and got some lens flare in it, so it looks pretty good there. And then also got this neat shot of some sun coming through the trees. Looks pretty nice. This shot there looks pretty good. And then went to the lift hill for Grizzly River Run, and yeah, let's see how that went. Yeah, there was some reason there was a giant blackness. There was like a huge gap to it. I'm not sure what happened to it. Not sure if this was like probably the bill from a baseball cap maybe, and then like when I was trying to take a shot, even though nothing like that was an issue in any of my other photos. So I don't know why, but that happened there apparently, or maybe something wrong with the film or the camera or something. Who knows? Because it was in my backpack and kept moving around a lot. So who knows? Maybe I kind of messed up with the film stock. Maybe, who knows? But it looks completely fine right now in all these shots. So I don't know. On Paradise Bay, I did a zooming test with my camcorder, and which does 30 times mechanical zoom, optical zoom. Yeah, it did pretty well with all the zooming it does. It zooms in. But for there, it of course does get a bit shaky. Yeah, but it's pretty good for an older camera there. Surprisingly, did pretty well with how much when you did zoom in on there. And then loop around to Pixar Pier. The Incredicoaster was temporarily closed due to mechanical issues at the time, which also had a great shot of the sun starting to go down before sunset. Next was Radiator Springs Racers, with both filming and photos. Due to shade, the sky was a bit overblown and the buttes were dark, but the film camera was sort of balanced in the lights on the signage, but it was much more balanced on the iPhone, for sure. After dinner, it was time to set for sunset on Paradise Bay. Surprisingly, all the cameras had more or less that balanced lighting for there, and it looks pretty nice there. Either way, I loved it. And then also, one last shot before I left, it was like maybe how well the Carthy Circle fountain did. Fountain? Nope, you gotta do flash for that kind of case, so yeah, no little light imaging for there. But of course, did pretty well with the iPhone there. In conclusion, it was pretty cool to see how the shots looked between my film camera and the camcorder shots compared to my modern smartphone. You have to keep in mind the limitations of how many shots there are, the mechanical constraints of your device, and the lack of adjustments in the disposable camera, but also how much time you need to export them to digital as well. With smartphones, you can just slap a filter on them and just easily post it online, all without mechanical constraints and need to develop to export the footage. But yeah. But that's the magic of using an older device there. Or an older format, either way. Thank you for watching Ansel Travel.